know you like talking Star Wars. We like talking Star Wars. So that's exactly what we're gonna do. This is The Wars and More.
This is a big week for Star Wars, but in a very different way and something we've been hoping for a very, very long time. This week will mark the opening of Galaxy's Edge in Disneyland out there in Anaheim. This is The Wars and More. I'm Joe, and of course with me is my good buddy Doug. Hey Doug, how you doing this week?
Doing pretty good, Joe. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing pretty fantastic. So wouldn't you know it though? They're going to do a live stream for the dedication ceremony for Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's going to run right through our recording tonight. So,
not so awesome. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, I think it starts at 11:20 tonight. So,
yeah,
we'll be well in. So, what I will say though is, if there's anything, super fantastic that we absolutely need to talk about, we will come back and record something and pop it in at the end of this episode, just so we can get our 2 cents in.
Right. It's the magic of the edit.
That's the magic of the edit. That's absolutely fact. But I mean, more voices keep chiming in about having seen it and having loved it. Ryan Johnson got his chance out there.
Right.
He said it was, let's see, I got the quote here. Frickin' unbelievable.
Okay, cool.
So there's something his exact tweet was, he shared a photo of his wristband.
Uh-huh.
Said, I think this is the only pic I'm allowed to post, but oh my God, congrats to all the Imagineers and artists who made this real. It's freaking unbelievable. And he said, and yup, there is green milk, and yup, it's delicious.
Well, that's pretty high praise coming from somebody who had to, make Star Wars look pretty darn real,
Yeah.
So, that's cool.
Oh, and this little portion is for my sister. Someone did ask him, are there porgs? And he responded, so many porgs.
Yeah.
So.
Nice.
I'm sure my sister will love that.
Yeah.
My
wife
don't really know what they're doing on Batu.
Right. Yeah. That's a maybe they were brought there as an invasive species on the Millennium Falcon.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. Porgs are actually ruining the environment of Batu.
Yeah, exactly. So my wife just saw that you're going to be able to build your own droid or whatever, or get your own droids, whatever configuration. Yeah,
you can build.
So yeah, that's what she's excited about.
Did you see the price tag on it?
I have not.
I think I saw this earlier, and I may be wrong on the prices here, but I believe building your own droid was $100.
Okay.
And then building your own lightsaber,
it's
$200.
Yeah.
Now, from what I'm gathering, people were up in arms about this because I guess you can build your own lightsaber at the Tatooine traders outside of Star Tours.
Right.
And it's like $30 or $40 or something like that.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was. My brother actually built me one when the last time we were down in Disney.
Oh, cool.
We were down there all together, and Yeah, it's cool. But it's a plastic lightsaber.
Right. Exactly.
Oh, it's like those plastic ones you can buy at Walmart.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm gathering from this is you're going to be building more of like the Black Series lightsabers, metal hilt, LED blade.
Right. Kyber crystal inside.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you're not just building your plastic lightsaber down there. You're building a real showpiece.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Because my thought here is, to put something valued that high together, I'm going to want to take some time and put some real thought into this. I'm not going to just throw something together all willy-nilly, if I'm putting that much of an investment into it, I want to really consider what I'm doing. So,
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I spent $200. There better not be someone there going, okay, we got to move this along. No,
exactly.
You go to hell.
Right. That's exactly what my thought was. It's like, okay, now you got 4 minutes to build this. Oh, excuse me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? $200. I'm going to kneel down right here and I'm going to use the Force to put this together.
That's right.
I paid for authenticity, damn it.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't know. Everything that's come out so far is sounding fantastic and sounding fun. And like I said, we'll tune into this stream and see what we can get out of it. See if they show us anything good.
Yeah, definitely.
Or if they just tease us and tease us.
Oh, they'll tease us. That's for sure.
But I would expect some reveals,
Oh, yeah.
So either that or it's just going to be them at the gate going, it's open.
Right, yeah. Well, if there is anything revealed, we'll bring it to you right here. So,
right on. All right. So let's take a step away from Star Wars just for a moment.
Okay.
Because something's happened that is really got fans of the DC universe in an uproar. And I caution everybody when they think about getting upset over this. So apparently DC is looking at Robert Pattinson to take over Ben Affleck's role in The Batman.
Aha.
Robert Pattinson, obviously famous for the Twilight Saga.
Okay.
I caution everybody here. Everybody's losing their mind. They're like, he's not this action hero or whatever. Neither was Heath Ledger.
Right.
Heath Ledger was not the fan favorite choice when he was announced as the Joker.
Yeah. I have to admit, what when I think of Heath Ledger, at least, and especially prior to Batman,
Knight's Tale.
Knight's Tale, absolutely. So, I have to agree. You gotta at least wait and see, right? I mean, if it's not good, it's not good. But we don't even know yet. We know nothing yet, right?
Yeah, I mean, A Knight's Tale is a good example there, and so you watch A Knight's Tale.
Yeah.
Do you see all these traits about Heath Ledger that scream, "Wow, this guy would be a fantastic Joker"?
None. Absolutely none. Yeah.
So that's why I say I caution everybody. Like, it's just not one of those things that you can watch everything someone's done and say, okay, they can't do this.
Right.
Okay. These people pour their lives into acting, and they pride themselves on being able to take over whatever roles thrust upon them.
Yeah.
So let's not be too quick to judgment here. He could end up being a fantastic Batman.
It's true.
This could be the diamond in the rough, if you will, that who knew that he could be this action star.
Right. I guess my only thought was, yeah, I have never seen the Twilight films. If this does come to pass and he's going to end up being the next Batman, I might have to go back and do that, like I'm trying to do with Game of Thrones now that, Benioff and Weiss are working on Star Wars. But,
oh, he's going to be Batman, so you're going to go watch Twilight?
Hey. Yeah, it's like, I want to frame a reference for, there's this reaction everyone's having.
Yeah.
I'm curious now as to why they're having this negative reaction towards him being Batman. My only thought was, from all the trailers and everything that I'd seen of the Twilight series, like all these guys in these movies did not look bulked up enough to be Batman to me. So I don't know.
Agreed. And I'll tell you what, I mean, if he's going to be Batman, he's got to hit the weights.
That's right.
That's for sure. But that is something these actors do.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, look at Chris Hemsworth.
Right.
Everything we saw of Chris Hemsworth before Thor, didn't scream that he was going to be Thor.
Right.
And then look, he comes out there and that dude's buff.
Oh yeah.
So
Hugh Jackman's famous for this too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Ben Affleck.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, Ben Affleck was never small, but
right.
He bulked up quite a bit to play Batman.
Yeah, totally.
So, yeah, let's just be cautious here. Let's give the guy a chance. I mean, well, what's the worst that could happen? It's gonna suck. I mean, like we've never seen a movie that sucked before.
Exactly.
We'll get over it. They'll do it again, and they'll make a new one, and and Batman's famous for this.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, there are some opinions about the current roster of DC films. So,
yeah, for sure. And the thing about Batman too is there's a lot of depth to Batman.
Yeah,
and having a character, an actor with a background in drama, probably wouldn't be a bad thing. There is a lot of drama to Batman, as well as all that action.
Oh yeah. I just had a thought occur to me. When you go back, to the 90s, who would have ever thought that Mr. Mom would have been Batman, right? Or, the dude that played in Gung Ho.
Right.
So that's just a thought.
Just look at all the casting for Batman,
Exactly.
I mean, they went down that road once with, getting this guy who, had more of a action background, things like that, with Val Kilmer.
Right.
And arguably, it's one of the worst of the Batman series.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of that to me is just poor writing.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of factors that lent themselves to that one.
They just try to
being so good.
Pack it full of marquee talent, and
right,
it just didn't work. I mean, Jim Carrey was an okay Riddler. Okay's all I'll give it, because you watch Gotham and you're like, yeah, Jim Carrey was just an okay Riddler.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
I thought, Tommy Lee Jones's Two-Face, I thought that was going to be perfect.
Right.
It was just written poorly.
Yeah. Agreed.
So, yeah. Let's not jump to judgment. All right. So, we've been talking episode 9 rumors and whatnot. And we had a pretty hefty rumor revolving around Matt Smith.
Ah, yes.
Well, Disney has responded, and they've removed both Matt Smith and Dominic Monaghan from all their cast listings for The Rise of Skywalker.
Yes, this is kind of an interesting move. You got to wonder where they're coming from with this. Were the because it was what Disney UK sites had them up, and
a Star Wars site.
Okay, so we had this Vanity's Fair spread that we talked about last week. Now, neither of them were featured in that, where we did see Kerry Russell and I'm blanking out, but
Richard E. Grant.
Richard E. Grant. There we go. Thank you. But who's to say that, you know, maybe their parts end up on the cutting room floor? Maybe they're trying to keep their parts very low key going into the film so that it's more of a surprise for us. Who knows?
I don't know. Like, that seems like an interesting move. Like, to remove them to keep the surprise. That doesn't sound right.
Well, I don't know. Because, you know, I've heard talk of Matt Smith being possessed by Palpatine, his character.
Right.
So, you know, this could be...
Alert.
Huh?
Spoiler alert.
Well, it's a rumor, right? But, you know, they might be trying to save that big climactic moment for when you're in the theater, you know, and not tip their hand too much.
Agreed, but I don't know. So I don't think leaving him on the cast list gives it away that this rumor's true.
Okay. So in your opinion, you think they're just cut from the film?
I don't know. Is it, like I said, I just don't understand the move. Like, it doesn't seem like a wise move to, if you're trying to hide this, to do this.
Well,
you know, if you're trying to hide it, this will be looked back on as, oh, they got scared, and you know, it was a futile move.
Right. I think part of that is only got to do with how
because if they're trying to cut down the rumors, they've done just the opposite. Everybody's saying, oh, they're doing this because, you know, they're trying to cut down the rumors.
Right.
So if they're trying to cut down the rumors, that's failed.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's going like we're saying right here that maybe they're on the cutting room floor. Not too many people are saying that.
Right. So
most people are saying this is confirmation that people are onto something.
You could also think of it like this. I mean, you're talking about one of the best marketing departments in the world.
Okay, if they're looking at doing this to fuel the flames, then yeah, that's working.
Exactly, right. You know, we could get a bunch of free publicity just by removing some names off the website. These fans are so observant, they'll notice. Trust me, you know?
Well, yeah, success there, if that's what they're doing.
You never know. I mean, you know, my mind always goes a little conspiratorial, so could be.
Yeah, I could see that. I just don't really see it as a good move if you're trying to hide it, to do this, especially given it's Star Wars fans.
Right.
And Star Wars fans jump on something like this as, oh, they're trying to hide it.
Well, I would like to think that they have a good grasp on who the fans are. You know.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like that's why I say that if they're trying to hide it, I I don't think that would be the move they would take if they're trying to hide it, just because I would think after all these years they'd realize that that's going to do nothing but fan the flames.
Right. Well, who knows? I guess we'll have to wait till December to find out.
Yeah, and what do you make of the Dominic Monaghan removal? Like, that's...
Well, I'm not sure, because, early on, he seemed really excited about, taking the role. Obviously, friend of JJ's from Lost and all. I couldn't see JJ putting him into a part that was so insignificant that it would be so easily cut.
Agreed.
So it's kind of where I'm coming at with that. I got a feeling that we're still going to see these characters in the movie.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's a weird move.
Yeah, totally a weird move.
Have something to add to the conversation? Or you just want to let us know how we're doing? Email us, show@thewarsandmore.com. That's the best place to get in on the action. But if social media is a little more to your liking, @TheWarsandMore on Twitter is always a good place to interact with us. And we're also on Facebook, facebook.com/TheWarsandMore. And of course, your portal to this and everything else, The Wars and More, is thewarsandmore.com. All right, one thing we always see as an absolute treat as Star Wars fans is any time Harrison Ford shows up anywhere and actually talks about Star Wars even a little bit. Well, he decided to make a stop by Fallon and ended up doing just that.
Yes, he did. He's doing the press right now for his he did some voice work for Secret Life of Pets 2 or something. But
yeah.
Whenever he's out and about, they're always going to talk to him about things he's done in the past. So Fallon brought up that it was the 35th anniversary of Temple of Doom, and went on to ask him about Raiders and stuff. So I thought this was kind of interesting, because this sounded, what he had to say about it sounded an awful lot like someone else we hear talk about Star Wars in the same manner. So check this out.
Did you have any idea that the first Raiders was you're going to have sequels on that and do more and more of those?
Yeah. Yeah, I was hoping.
You did, yeah?
I was, yeah. No, it seemed. Look, it was based on those kind of Saturday matinee kind of cliffhanger deals.
Yeah.
That I watched when I was a kid, but you wouldn't know anything about that.
Yeah.
Kind of funny. Sounds an awful lot to me like what George Lucas would say about Star Wars. Going to the Saturday matinee, they'd have the cliffhanger to get you to come back the next week and all.
Just kind of seems like he spent a lot of time around George.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're from the same era, and they grew up on the same stuff, and that's really what all those classics now, right? The Star Wars original trilogy and the Indiana Jones films. That's what they're rooted in, is that sort of stuff, like the old serials, I guess you'd call them, so it's just kind of cool for me to hear him kind of referencing Indy the same way George would reference his inspiration for Star Wars, and how that, how he took inspiration from those type of films and things for Star Wars. So
yeah,
cool.
And it's amazing too, because the indie films are a lot like Star Wars in a lot of ways. Just the following,
Oh yeah.
So to hear those comparisons is not shocking. And obviously the George Lucas connection, and
Oh yeah. Yep.
so to hear him make those kinds of comments and then be comparable to what's been said about Star Wars over the years is not really shocking, but it's refreshing to hear.
Yeah, absolutely.
I will say,
Yeah.
I am super excited for the next Indy.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, just good stuff. This next one's kind of funny. You know, we know Mark Hamill is expert, say, in voice acting. So they had a little fun with Harrison and Mark's impressions. So check this out.
Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill, was on our friend Seth Meyers' show not too long ago, and he did an impression of you. I don't know if you've seen it. Maybe you'd like to take a look at this. Here's Mark Hamill's impression of Harrison Ford. Take a look at this.
I'm looking in continuity, and I said, well, wait a second. This is right after we got out of the trash compactor. Shouldn't my hair be all wet and matted with schmutz all through it? And he turns to me and says, hey, kid, it ain't that kind of movie. If people are looking at your hair, we're all in big trouble.
No, that wasn't bad. Huh? What?
He can have the job. No, it's really good.
Yeah, it's not bad, right?
I guess that's me.
That's me.
Well, we had that clip on the show a few weeks back,
Yes.
and we said the same thing. Like, wow,
Yeah, exactly.
he nailed Harrison there.
It's just funny. I love that these guys have, they've worked together for so long and they can just have fun, hacking on each other a little bit like that. That's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. It is cool to see that Mark gets the stamp of approval as well.
Yeah.
He's got it.
So, Fallon goes on to talk about, Peter Mayhew a little bit and gets Harrison to chime in and, check out the end because this is classic Harrison Ford here. That cracked me up here.
I'm sure you've already discussed this, but it was kind of sad. Peter Mayhew has passed. Chewbacca.
Yeah.
You've known him for probably 30 years, I guess?
Yeah.
What was he like?
He was a really sweet man.
Yeah.
Nice man. And he had a hard time physically. It was really hard for him to do what he did for us, what he did for all of us. And he did it with real dignity and class. He was a really neat guy.
Yeah.
Miss him.
I usually want to be happy when you're here and make jokes. That's my job. So I thank you for saying something nice.
Well, get on with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, very classic Harrison.
Yeah.
And like you hear a lot of emotion there.
Oh, totally.
That's something we've known about Peter is that he had a lot of physical issues,
Yeah, especially towards The Force Awakens and stuff.
Yeah.
I got a feeling that's mainly what Harrison Ford is referring to. Because, there was a lot of, basically all the scenes with Chewbacca sitting down, that was Peter in that film, as I understand it. But where he's up and running around and stuff, that was all Jonas.
Right.
So, definitely you can hear the emotion and sincerity in Harrison's voice for sure. It cracked me up though when he's like, "Yeah, get to it, get to the jokes."
Yeah.
But
yeah, almost like he was not really expecting it,
right,
like expecting to talk about that.
yeah,
Kind of took him off guard, and yeah, it's not an easy thing.
no,
And to inject the Harrison humor at the end, kind of lighten the mood.
yeah, for sure.
It's very classic, very classic.
The other thing that cracked me up is Felon. He needs to math better. He's like, yeah, you must have known Peter for 30 years. Well, how about 40?
Well, remember that was in Harrison's statement.
Oh,
And I kind of mentioned when we talked about Harrison's statement, I was kind of like, it was more like 40 years.
yeah, true.
But still.
Agreed. It's just funny. We obsess over the small details like that where,
Right.
people in it don't necessarily. So,
Well, it's, we obsess over the small details like that when we're talking about Star Wars, while when we're looking at stuff like that in our own lives,
right.
we think the same way. You don't want to
Exactly.
You want to think 30. You don't want to think 40.
Right. Yeah. This is true.
So we get that.
Yeah.
But yeah, very cool. Anytime you get to see Harrison out there is a treat.
Yeah, totally.
I do got to say, what's up with that beard?
I don't know, man.
When he first walked out, I'm like, whoa, look at this guy.
Yeah. Got the beard. His hair's getting a little on the longer side. He's starting to look like Crazy Octu Luke.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, definitely looking like Luke a little bit there. Or Gandalf.
Right. Right.
But no, good to see him. Good to see him out there. Good to see him talking about Star Wars still.
Yes.
And not treating it with a little of that disdain we saw over the years.
Right. Yeah. I think
He's got his closure now.
yeah, I agree. And I think he's at a point where he he's going to embrace it a little more. It's
Yeah, that's apparent.
yeah.
All right. So, into the rumor mill.
Ooh.
I like the rumor mill.
Sure.
Rumor mill's fun. So, BuzzFeed had an article talking about an upcoming project for Star Wars. And I found this super interesting, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to find this super interesting. So I'll just read a little bit here. It says, multiple sources have told BuzzFeed News that a film based on the popular Knights of the Old Republic video game franchise is currently in development at Lucasfilm. Interesting.
Nice.
Now, this next part I take very cautiously because I am so horrible with names. And this one is not the easiest of names. So I'm going to give it a shot.
Okay.
Forgive me. The project is reportedly being written by Lita Calagridis, and maybe the start of a brand new trilogy of films centered around the Knights of the Old Republic. So
Nice.
what they're saying here, and they go on in the article and they elaborate a little bit, is it will not be attached to those films coming out in 2022 that are being helmed by Benioff and Weiss, nor will it be attached to Rian Johnson's upcoming trilogy. So this is another series of films.
Huh. Interesting.
Now, during Star Wars Celebration, Kathleen Kennedy was asked about the possibility of like a Knights of the Old Republic or the Old Republic based content.
Right.
And she kind of gave a cagey kind of, we're looking at it.
Right. Yes.
So with that comment and now this rumor, I'd say this has some potential of being true.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of crazy.
Now, we've talked about, like, it's been long rumored that Benioff and Weiss were going into this era.
Yes.
But it's since come around that they're not going this far back.
Right. Yeah, I think we kind of touched on that before a little bit. Because, yeah,
Right.
they were talking, like, you know, and I know they're just talking in kind of like rough, you know, very obtuse, you know, details, right? Nothing specific. But they said something like 500 years before A New Hope. You know, that doesn't go far enough back to be Knights of the Old Republic.
No, definitely not. I mean, it's, 500 years is definitely not, 4,000?
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, I'll tell you what, though. I like this. I like this a lot.
So I got to wonder then. So when Benioff and Weiss were announced, and, you know, they're behind all the Game of Thrones stuff, which sent the Star Wars fan community, you know, in a frenzy all about Knights of the Old Republic era. Was Disney Lucasfilm listening? Right? I mean, did Benioff and Weiss actually pitch? I mean, it sounds like it, right? They pitched something else, but then when the fan fervor was going on about all this Knights of the Old Republic, did they say, okay, we're listening, so we are going to, you know, look into that era and see what we can do with it? I mean, you think that was a direct response from that, or do you think this was something that was being talked about prior?
Well, as far as it being a direct response to that, I would hope not. And the reason I say that is this is not a time frame that hasn't been clamored for.
True.
Okay, this is not something that's been quiet. This has been a very loud portion of fandom for a lot of years.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, even when there was rumors when Disney took the helm, right?
Yep.
And the rumors of the new movies began. I mean, even before. Let me walk that back a little bit. When it was kind of hinted that there was going to be new movies coming, even before the Disney acquisition, right?
Right.
The buzz around Old Republic set of films was loud then.
Yeah, that is true. I think from the moment that we found out there was actually going to be these ancillary films from the trilogies, people were saying this, that, you know, they need to head back into that era.
Right, and that's where I was going to expand on that. And that was when the Disney acquisition happened, and they said episodes 7, 8, and 9 were happening.
Right.
Period. But they also said they were going to do these spin-off films.
Right.
And instantly when the spin-off films were announced, they're like, that buzz rose again. Old Republic. We want to see it. So if it took all the way up to getting to Benioff and Weiss, and, you know, like I said, like you said, their involvement with Game of Thrones and their style, if it took getting up to that, then they were a little deaf.
Yeah, I got you. Well, hopefully.
Would that be now saying that was the final, the final push? I could see that.
Right.
Like, okay, this is not going away. Like, every time we talk about potential of a new trilogy, everybody's like, Old Republic. So they made all these plans, and they're like, well, we should probably do this.
I could see them. I could see them actually having people keeping score, right? I mean, checking out all the social media, all the fan fervor online, and kind of tracking the trends of what people are asking for. So it kind of makes sense. I mean,
yeah. What I'll say about this, though, is this is very specific. This isn't just saying heading back into the old Republic and, the ancient war and all that.
Right.
They're saying specifically Knights of the Old Republic.
Well, if they're going to be that specific about it, then they are going to have specific characters that they're going to have to get into here.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking Revan and Malik and
right.
And we say that. Well, you know what? Never mind. I was going to say we say that, but canon has kind of been reset.
Right, but they have been pulling from Legends.
Yeah, but then again, at that same time, they're saying Knights of the Old Republic, and Knights of the Old Republic is very specific to that Legends material.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, you're talking Revan and Malik, and wow, that's.
I gotta say, I think for all of the divisiveness there's been in the fandom recently in Star Wars, having how do I put it? Dipping our toe into different eras of the franchise, it has the potential to heal a lot of that, I think. Because
and I hate using this term because the past of Star Wars should really never be referred to in this way, but dipping your toes into something that was never considered canon to begin with, because really canon was anything George Lucas put out.
Yeah.
That was the benchmark for canon.
Sure.
You had other things that like elevated itself into what was considered canon because of its popularity.
Right.
Knights of the Old Republic is in that realm, but it's not Thrawn trilogy realm.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I
so
hear you.
like the Thrawn trilogy was one of those things that kind of elevated itself into the canon just based on fandom alone.
Well, I do have to say, Heir to the Empire, it says on the inside of that like front page, it says this book is canon. It does say it right in the book. So or at least it did back in those early days.
I'm sure subsequent releases do not.
Yeah, it's probably true. But yeah, I think we all understand exactly what you mean by the canon and the popularity of non-canon works, bringing them up to that kind of level.
Right. Like, and it's, and you can see, you talk about Knights of the Old Republic, and then you look at what George Lucas is considered canon and things in like the Clone Wars and stuff like that. Knights of the Old Republic was not something he considered canon.
Right.
I mean, here we go again. Moraband, anybody?
Yeah. I know. But hey, it's an interesting thought. I mean, my only concern is that if they stray too far away from any of the plot points of the game, right, and the stories that came before. I know that there's a lot of fans out there who truly adore the Knights of the Old Republic, and if they do a film on it, I think they need to like adhere as best they can story wise and make something great to satisfy everyone. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And you know what? I was going to touch on that a little bit. I think Lucasfilm needs to get ahead of this.
Yeah.
Don't let this fester for too long in the rumor mill.
Right.
If this is really happening, don't let it run with just that Knights of the Old Republic tagline. Because if that title sticks with this for too long, expectations will start to rise.
Oh, yeah. Well,
So they would be better apt to say Knights of the Old Republic era.
yeah. Even still, if you're
Along
saying
the lines of Knights of the Old Republic, things like that,
yeah,
instead of saying Knights of the Old Republic. Because the second you narrow it down to it is following this and it doesn't follow this, that's when you will ignite the fervor.
right.
And I mean, me personally, I'm not fooling myself thinking that this is going to be a direct lift of that content. I don't think it's going to be that at all.
Right.
I think it'll be along the lines. Characters will probably be lifted from it, and maybe some planets. One's dead to us apparently.
Yeah.
But but still, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
and that's not saying Korriban can't come back. I mean,
right.
it just won't be the home world of the Sith.
Hey, that one, I have to say, that could so easily be retconned. I mean, Morban and Korriban could be two planets in the same system.
Yeah, but I mean, they specifically said in the Clone Wars, the home world of the Sith,
Yes.
Korriban.
Right.
So it's kind of hard to walk that back.
Yeah, but I mean, Korriban,
Korriban
could
be around there.
could be its moon. Something. But that aside,
Yeah, I know.
I think
Sure, a lot of people are saying that. Shut up about Korriban.
I think if they are talking Knights of the Old Republic, they really need to consider the fan base that is, in love with the Knights of the Old Republic. Don't, expand on the story, yes, but don't completely throw out what has come before, right? Now this is somebody talking, me, right? I have never played the game, but I think if you're going to use that era, you need to, how do I put it? Give
Handle it
those
gently.
fans, huh?
Handle it gently.
Gently, yes. Give those fans who are expecting to see certain things, yes, give them those things so that they're satisfied with what they're seeing, but then expand further from there, right? I mean, I'm not saying to make it all predictable or anything like that, but my God, I've been hearing for years how much people would love to see a Knights of the Old Republic game or film, and if it comes, I'll see it for sure.
Yeah, I mean, step one, if you're going to say Knights of the Old Republic, you need Revan.
Right.
You need Alec.
And that's part of what I'm talking about. You can't make a Knights of the Old Republic movie without those characters. it's got to be called something else if it doesn't have those.
Yeah. Like, yeah, you just need to switch this to Old Republic.
Right. And then if it doesn't have Nomi Sunrider, yeah, I'm riding. I'm joking. I kid.
Wow.
I kid.
You say that, I'm going to get bagged on for Korriban.
Yeah. Hey now. But
This
hey,
is not acceptable.
this is this is something that Lucasfilm needs to look at, because I say some of this stuff in jest, but there are fans out there who would be downright upset. I mean, choose your words wisely. What you're going to call your next project could have a huge impact on how it's received by fans.
Right. Well, it's in jest and joking around and stuff like that. You don't talk about I'm still on it, even though I said I'd drop it. So I recently started playing the Old Republic MMO again.
Okay, right.
And, one of the first things I did was I logged into the game. I got in my ship. And I flew my ship to Korriban and went,
Nice.
Like, they didn't change it here.
Right.
So, yeah. Like I said, I kid. And I make a bigger deal out of the Korriban thing than it really is.
Right.
Because, it's George is right. It's George's story.
That's right.
And when George Lucas says, I wouldn't call it Korriban, and because he says it sounds too much like Coruscant, so he calls it Moraband. So I guess he gave a little nod there.
Right.
But yeah, if this is true, it's super exciting. It's something that those of us that have played the Knights of the Old Republic games have been clamoring for a long time.
Absolutely.
Because it is a truly different side of Star Wars.
Right.
Because, Star Wars has been focused on these eras where you have a very small number of Force users. I mean, the prequels, you had much more.
Yes.
But for the majority of it, it's been a select group of people that have been in the forefront of that, Force usage.
Yeah. Yeah. You're talking just a handful amongst the original trilogy and the sequel trilogy.
And the idea of Jedi and Sith numbering in, thousands, if not millions.
Right.
Is enticing.
Yes. And this is also a place I could definitely see them digging deep down into the Force itself. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I could dig it.
Oh yeah. I could dig it for sure. All right, so Galaxy's Edge had their big dedication ceremony. So Galaxy's Edge is now open to the public in Disneyland Resort in California.
Yeah, definitely. And with in true Disney fashion, I guess they have a big you said the ceremony, and it was a lot of pomp and circumstance, I guess you could call it.
Right.
Big speech from Bob Iger, but what I thought was more interesting here was the guests that they brought along to help with the dedication of this new portion of the park. So, what, or who better, right, than the man himself, George, to kind of kick things off with. So, after Bob Iger said what he had to say, he brought out George Lucas, and here's what he had to say.
Thank you, Bob. I'll first say you did a great job.
Thank you very much. Coming from you, that means a lot.
Well, it could have gone very bad. But it didn't. It's Star Tours on steroids at a level you can't possibly believe. And I'd also like to thank all the Imagineers and others here that made this thing possible, because it's the first time because I worked with the Imagineers a long time ago, and we did, everything was like it was in the olden days, where it was very hard to do anything. So now the technology is here. This thing is amazing. It's really something that you couldn't even dream about 20 years ago. So I hope you enjoy it. It was a great experience for me, and I think that you'll change your life. Thank you.
Thanks, George. Thank you. George is a little awestruck because we piloted the Millennium Falcon earlier. I will admit that we did that. You'll get your chance. Anyway, thanks, George.
Interesting, huh?
Yeah. I laugh at it could have went really bad.
Yeah. I wonder what George means by that. That's a interesting comment. I'll just say that for right now. And I thought, how was it that Bob Iger feels that George is awestruck from piloting the Millennium Falcon? It's like, he made all that stuff happen in the first place, dude. So
right. I mean, maybe he was super amazed by the experience.
Sure.
That this has come to life in this way, available to everyone's fingertips.
Yeah. I guess I could be, trying to read between the lines a little too much, but, I don't know. Sometimes these conversations, it looks a little, I don't know. Looks like there's something more going on there than what we're actually seeing, but.
Right.
So, next, they brought on, Billy D. Williams, and, it was definitely cool to see him. He's thrilled to be back in the role of Lando, and especially especially about the Falcon, he had stuff to say. So I don't know. It was kind of cool. Here, let's check this out.
But thank you. I'm so really happy to be here. It's been almost 40 years since the last time I played Lando. People keep asking me, how did I find Lando again? Well, Lando never left me. And being involved with the Star Wars has been incredibly rewarding to me. And certainly working with and being hired by this wonderful man was a very special part of my life. Well, thank you so much. And happy birthday. As you probably know, I was the original owner of the Millennium Falcon. It's amazing to see her looking so good today. And I'm so excited for you. You're going to get the pilot to pilot the Falcon 2 and experience your own adventures. You're going to love it just as much as I've loved it being a part of this fantastic franchise. To all the fans out there, thank you. This land is for you. Thank you.
This land is for you.
Yeah.
Is there a cooler way to introduce it?
Right. I thought it was funny. He claims to be the original owner of the Falcon, which, I guess wasn't really introduced into canon until last year. But, hey.
Well, he knew he owned it at one time.
Of course. But just kind of funny.
Right.
So.
Well, he's embraced that as part of his character.
Oh,
obviously.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, there's no doubt. So, seeing as how we have all these guests to help with this ceremony, all these original trilogy people so far. We have the creator, we have Billy D. Next, we have the star of the OT himself, Mark Hamill, who proves himself to be, on top of his game as always. So, check it out.
Thank you. I have to tell you, the last time I was in a Disney park with George Lucas was for the opening many moons ago of Star Tours. And I thought to myself, this is inconceivable that I could be part of a movie that would get its own ride in a Disney theme park? I mean, I better savor the moment because it'll never be surpassed. And yet, look at where we are today. We get our own land. Star Wars to me has always been the gift that keeps on giving, and the reason is because of you. Your parents tell you not to speak to strangers, and everywhere I go, people treat me like I'm family. And the stories they tell me, they're personal stories of seeing Star Wars or reading the books or playing the games or watching the animated series, whatever it is. They're so personal and so heartfelt. It got me through troubled times. I was going through a terrible breakup. My mother was sick. I met my spouse online. The stories they tell me are so heartfelt, and I can't tell you how grateful I am to have been a part of it, to be associated with a character that represents optimism and hope. And so I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Walt Disney and especially George Lucas for teaching the world a new way to dream. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
So that's typical of Mark right there. That is what we've come to know. I love the fact that he brings that personal side of his experience with Star Wars into it, where the fans talk to him about every aspect of the wars, because he talks about the fans talking about the books and the animated series and things like that. Some of that has nothing to do with him,
Oh, for sure.
and it still affects him. It's awesome. And I like what he said about the character he's played, and I forget the exact words he used, but having to do with hope. So,
right,
because that's what I always felt, especially with that character, is optimism, and hope,
yeah, no matter how bad it got,
exactly. So,
Luke, I can turn him.
Right, exactly.
It's good in him. I see it. It's just nothing but optimism.
Right. So
interesting though, like a character of optimism. He actually had to turn to fandom at a point in order to regain his personal optimism.
right,
Stuff was bad,
right.
going well, but the support of fandom helped him get through it.
Absolutely. So very cool there. So this next clip, it's pretty cool little we'll call it like a type of a skit type thing they were doing, and starts off with Mark and brings on another guest. Not everything goes 100% the way it's supposed to, I don't think, but overall the sentiment was there, and yeah, pretty cool. So check this out.
Okay, Chewie. Let's fire up the Falcon.
This is just a little embarrassing. Is there somebody who knows how to fix this thing?
Hey, no worries, no worries. You don't forget, this is the ship that made the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs, all right?
That's right. She may not look like much, but she's got it where it counts.
Ladies and gentlemen, Harrison Ford. All right. Can you help us out with this thing?
I'll give it a try, Bob. Peter? This one's for you!
Oh, well.
So you need to go back and check that out, because the video for that is really the telling part, where Harrison Ford underneath the Falcon kind of gives it the old, bangs on it a little bit, and then it starts up. So pretty cool. I thought it was cool how they tried to incorporate the basically a little skit to it.
Right. Yeah, I'll tell you what, the pyrotechnics crew was a little off.
A little bit, yeah. But not everything can be perfect, I guess, but yeah.
Agreed.
It was a little
the sentiment there was what counted.
Exactly. That being the nod to Peter Mayhew. So
right. Yeah. All in all, I we got to, in the dedication ceremony, they gave us kind of a sneak peek at some of the stuff coming, and I'll tell you what, this has been super fun. But of course, if you have anything to add to the conversation, you can always email us, show@thewarsandmore.com. That's the best way to get a hold of us. We're also on social media. We're at The Wars and More on Twitter, facebook.com/thewarsandmore. And you can find all that and all the ways to find the show over at thewarsandmore.com. Any final thoughts this week, Doug?
no, I think that about covers it.
All right. We'll talk next week.